Well, first up, would you also say Apostrophe is a 10?
I would say Apostrophe kind of ranks around in that vicinity for me. That's an incredible record.
I love that one, man. And also Abigail Devo. I don't know if you know her or not, but she did like a video on Apostrophe.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm a classic rock critic here on YouTube. I'm not sure when this video is gonna be up. It might be irrelevant by the time I'm done editing it, who knows, but my philosophy is if the guy hasn't made a follow-up yet, he's probably not going to. Early Thursday morning, Anthony Fantano posted his review of the new Halsey album, and I gotta talk this one out. I would be remiss not to acknowledge that I am literally here on YouTube due in part to Anthony Fantano. Fantano is the reason my career path exists. The needle drop is part of my channel's DNA inextricably. I've memed on him a few times before in my videos, and while I've been lightly critical of him in the past, it was never anything to sit down and make a video on. I don't make response videos to anybody at all. Unless it's something that happened like 50 years ago, I stay in my own damn lane. Ergo, I recognize it's out of character for me to be making a video like this. Though I was interested in the gimmick of their latest record, The Great Impersonator, I never expected to be talking about modern pop singer Halsey on this channel. Again, I am a classic rock critic. I'm not a fan of Halsey. I've made fun of her singing before, and I know Fantano isn't really a fan either. So when I saw this new review in my subscription box, I wasn't expecting it to be positive by any means, but I was well and truly appalled by what I heard. To explain the situation to my core subscriber base, mostly boomers who have no idea who Halsey is, they are a modern pop singer-songwriter known for writing deeply confessional material about their life experiences. She came up a little after Lana Del Rey to give you an idea of their musical stylings, but The Great Impersonator is very different. You can tell from the marketing campaign, in which Halsey transformed herself into pop icons from the last 50 years. I'm talking Marilyn Monroe, Stevie Nicks, David Bowie, Fiona Apple, all her musical icons. Very creative and very impressive. The Great Impersonator is Halsey trying on all these icons' different sounds. That much is true. Fantano had plenty of things to say about that element of the project, saying it was a good thing this came out around Halloween because it read like trying on bad Halloween costumes. I want to make it explicitly clear that Fantano is allowed to say the record didn't work. If your record is called The Great Impersonator, you should be impersonating, not just making light sonic nods to. But where Fantano went wrong was... well, he technically first went wrong by complaining about the marketing campaign for a whole 6 minutes. My buddy, my guy, we are music critics. Fantano really went wrong by either completely missing the important context within this ad campaign or willfully ignoring it. I do not know which is worse. What is this important context to The Great Impersonator? Not only was it posted in the many video clips between these very photo impersonations, Fantano no doubt saw this promo cycle if he complained about it so much. It was in the lyrics of the music itself, that which Fantano supposedly analyzed before writing this review. The Great Impersonator is this grand tribute to all of Halsey's icons because Halsey thought she was dying. They've had a terrible last couple years, diagnosed with a rare blood disorder on top of already battling endometriosis. Halsey is very sick. They openly express this and interact with this reality in the music. Her record label dropped her, her husband left her to raise their toddler all alone. Halsey had no security, was essentially in free fall while battling a life-threatening illness, and wondering if she was going to live to raise her son. So she made The Great Impersonator to exorcise all these demons and to leave her son something to remember her by in the event she succumbed to her illness. Once again, you're allowed to not like Halsey's writing style. I'm not a fan of their music personally, but Fantano took it too far. As a music critic, I believe there's some courtesy you have to execute as a writer critiquing someone's life's work. There's stuff you can say, like making the occasional horseman sing about dead dad joke, and there's stuff you just don't say, like accusing a person facing their own mortality as having, quote, main character syndrome, or calling these unfathomable, crushing fears of leaving your child behind, quote, childish angst. There's taking a jab at a larger-than-life personality or having a chuckle at a bad record. And then there's mean-spirited shit. Fantano's Great Impersonator review was blatantly, obviously, appallingly mean. I've made plenty of jokes that towed the line, I've rescinded ones I'm not proud of, there are reviews I'm not proud of, and I own up to that. That's why I redux so much and people inevitably complain about it. Not every review can be your best work. Sometimes you make a stupid mistake, or miss a sloppy edit, or you put your foot directly into your mouth. But there's a difference between a mistake, or a joke that didn't land, and willfully, intentionally crafting an entire review around this, quote, main character syndrome accusation. There's a pretty big difference between a joke that doesn't land and leading an entire album review with ignorance bordering on cruelty. Like, I'd be willing to forgive Fantano for shoehorning a Cal Schuchesta skit into a review of a serious album if the rest of the review weren't based on ignorance. Fantano also rated The Great Impersonator the same score, if not lower than, the latest Katy Perry album. That's objectively whack, but not the point of this video. The point is, to write about music, or any art really, to critique someone's life's work, I believe you should lead with a degree of empathy. You can laugh when a record is laughably terrible, hello angelic to the core. But when it's a record that runs as deep as this, you should familiarize yourself with what the artist intended to do and the place they were coming from. You don't have to understand it per se, but as a critic and tastemaker, you have a responsibility. You have to do the research. You have to know the circumstances from which the art was born from. This Fantano review has worked me up so much because in this instance, Fantano did not lead with empathy, let alone for an artist putting all those thoughts and feelings out there for mass consumption and mass response, positive, negative, everything in between. In calling it, quote, childish angst and, quote, main character syndrome, Fantano wrote it all off as a shallow cry for attention. You don't have to like The Great Impersonator. You're allowed to think it's cringy. You don't have to want to go out and buy a physical copy of it. You don't even have to appreciate it. But you've got to have basic respect, and Fantano left his outside that room that day. On top of all that, it sounds like he didn't really listen to the lyrics or the sounds of the album at hand. Those are pretty important for writing a review. Those lyrics and sounds explicitly reference Halsey's sickness. For the love of God, they incorporated the sound of their treatment pump into a song. Or Fantano ignored all of that, which, for one, that's sloppy work as a critic. And as a critic who has sat down and presented 12 minutes of context, then another 7 minutes of context on top of that, before every single review I have posted for years, this ignorance, sloppiness, and lack of empathy really rubs me the wrong way. I hope this doesn't read as melodramatic, but Fantano's review of The Great Impersonator is everything that's wrong with modern music criticism. It's all snark and no substance. There's being sharp like Lester Bangs, and there's being cutting like Christgau. Know the difference. I don't know how long this video is going to be up for. It's not because I'm scared of the response it could get. I recognize I am punching up in a big way by making this response. And it could very well come back to bite me in the ass. I've had that happen before. I'm scared because I respect Anthony Fantano. Again, he's the reason online music criticism looks, talks, and acts the way it does. He's the high water mark I've always been trying to match, the benchmark to meet as an online music critic. It's no secret I want to be the Anthony Fantano of classic rock. I've said it in so many of my videos. It sounds crazy, but I really hoped I could guest review on Classics Week someday. That was my ultimate goal, and now this video could obliterate that possibility. I hope not. It would be great if this whole Great Impersonator fiasco created a larger dialogue surrounding modern snark-first music criticism, but if it doesn't, I will at least feel better as the critic that I am and the music listener that I am for having gotten this off my chest. At the very least, it could spark a conversation in my own little Vinyl Monday bubble. I'd like for it to. Let's turn this egregious error into something positive. A teachable moment. This great impersonator review is why I do what I do here every week, and it's what I hope I never do. Alright, it's been too long since I made a joke, and I can feel myself breaking out in hives, and I got a podcast to record anyway. I'm out of here. Thank you for allowing me the space to make this one-off response video. I'll see you on Monday for my regularly scheduled Vinyl Monday shenanigans. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, removing art from its historical, philosophical, political, religious, or biographical context isn't ethical. It's poor journalism, and it's bad analysis. Or, at the very least, it makes you look like a fucking dickhead in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
Transition.